Thank you much, and welcome back to another episode of Not Good Enough Anime. I'm your host, David, and in this episode, we'll be talking about Mayo Chiki. Before we start, I want to take a brief moment and suggest you also listen to the main podcast, co hosted by Andy and myself, called Not Good Enough, because sometimes having an extra hand is better than doing it yourself. Alright, no more fucking around, let's go ahead and dig into this hidden gem called Mayo Chiki. Show's premise is about this high schooler named Jiro dealing with "why does God hate me" syndrome. Basically, whenever he goes near a female, he starts bleeding from his nose, and at times, in true beta male fashion, he also passes out. This is largely in part due to his mom and little sister wearing Air Force Ones around the house, beating this man senseless. In his school, there's a rich baddie called Kanade, who also has a reverse trap butler called Subaru. Subaru attends to Kanade while also going to the same high school as her and Jiro. In school, everybody thinks she's a guy, for reasons I'll outline later in the episode. Subaru garners a lot of attention from the girls at school. Like, she got all the crazy fangirls on her dick 24/7. Well, one afternoon, Jiro's in the men's bathroom and opens the door to see Subaru with some cute girl panties on. She freaks out on this man and starts whooping his ass. While in his eyes, he just thinks she's into some freaky shit and has no idea of the truth. Well, after a couple minutes of scuffling, it all ends with Jiro grabbing the titty. A wise man's move, with consent only though. After getting KO'd by Subaru, Jiro wakes up cuffed to a bed in the nurse's office, with Kanade sleeping next to him. The following conversation sets up the main story for the rest of the show. And while these types of plot setups and shows may feel very expository heavy, I like the way Mayochiki gives all characters a benefit to cohering with the deal that they all made. Subaru's secret is kept hidden, Jiro's beta male disability will be worked on, and Kanade gets to live out her sadistic fantasies. It gives the viewer a clear outcome of what the end of each character's arc will look like without giving out too much. This scene does give exposition, but also depth to each one of them. Subaru's reasons for pretending to be a boy and keeping it a secret feels very personal to her, especially when you see a short flashback of her as a young girl looking very determined to be a butler and continue her family's legacy. Kanade's kinky dark side gets highlighted with the flawless delivery of her line in this exchange with Jiro. "There's no deal, you're just making me your partner in crime," says Jiro. How lovely. I like the sound of that. "So let's explore this criminal relationship of ours in all sorts of exciting new ways," responds Kanade with this look of curiosity and sound of sexy desire in her voice. Lastly, Jiro's care for those around him is shown rather quickly but very effectively when he asks if Subaru is okay with the ongoing agreement. I won't lie, it's a refreshing scene of reverse trap in an anime, a much rarer story point than the all too common trap. Definitely gets a bunch of laughs out of the story due to situations that the characters are put in. But the show isn't all giggies. I'm leaving that in. The story isn't all giggles and titty grabbing, slightly sad about the latter. One thing that always makes me fall in love with animes are the comedic ones that know when to take itself seriously. This show has plenty of serious moments that progress the story forward, as I slightly showcased prior. I'm a sucker for that shit, because if done correctly, can develop the characters. Nowadays, I need my characters to be in 3D, fuck them flat one-dimensional ones. The first episode does a lot of things I love. It establishes the type of characters you're watching and starts developing the plot in an attention-grabbing way without letting all the apples fall out of the bag, or whatever the hell the phrase is. The main thing I appreciate about this episode, though, is that it doesn't have any type of lovey-dovey vibe going on with Subaru and Juro. Other than him seeing her naked at his house, which she swiftly folded this man for. In fact, I thought Juro and Kanade were going to be the lovebirds. Boy, was I so happy I was wrong. Now, episode 2 is where the emotions between Subaru and Juro are first starting to emerge. Kanade sets them both up on a date to help Juro from becoming a martial arts master living on an isolated island with a talking turtle. The start of this date is worthy of being one of my favorite scenes in the show. Juro and the viewers are seeing Subaru in female attire for the first time, and while I didn't get a nosebleed like Juro did, I instantly related to the state of nervousness that he was thrown into. She was shown to us as a shy and beautiful young girl, which is a great dynamic to her male moniker. We were meant to fall in love with her at that moment, a belief that is even more validated when hearing the soft and melodic piano strokes in the background. The date was short lived, and I would personally wish for a little more to have been added, but it also would have accelerated their relationship in the viewer's mind if we saw more than what the show was willing to give. So, although I wish for more at that moment, in retrospect, I appreciated it more that we were given less so the mutual love can be progressed and evolve more naturally and not so abruptly. Another thing I wanted to touch on in this episode is the situation both future lovebirds are thrown into the next day at school, which is hilarious. Now, I frequently switch between preferring straight up jokes or situational comedy. The scene in question is a prime example of why situational comedy is what ultimately makes my laugh sound like a damn Windex bottle. In class, the teacher states everybody must change into the gym clothes and head to the nurse's office, starting with the boys, a group which Subaru is a part of at that moment. Jiro is freaking out as all the boys have to participate in a physical and he has no idea how to conceal her identity from the others. Surprisingly, she is very calm and collected, opting to say she will figure something out when the time is right. Well, the upcoming test is up, chest measurement, and there's no time left. Jiro acts fast and screams, demanding he measures her chest as Subaru is very shy. I was cackling my ass off, and I was only able to catch on my second viewing that the show is sprinkled in some nice intimate character interactions as they were deluding their classmates, which is a testament of how the show has the main characters at the forefront of the plot and not the comedy. Lastly, in this episode, we get a definitive moment where the feelings of love start to become more apparent. While promising to one another to be on a first name basis, Subaru says Jiro out loud, and Jiro is taken aback. He can be seen in an internal shock as if realizing himself that he is falling deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. Episode 3 is when I had my first little issue with this show. In this episode, all three main characters go on a double date, bringing along Jiro's little sister, who is in love with Subaru, not knowing she's a girl yet. They go to a pool, and after having some fun and learning more about Subaru's history, Jiro saves a young little girl from drowning and subsequently passes out from touching her. A weird concept that he even passes out from little girls, but I guess not as weird as the shit R. Kelly used to do, so it's fine, I guess. After waking up a while later with Subaru by his side, it is found out that the little sister, Kureha, and Kanade have been kidnapped. My issue here is that although the plot has established that Kanade being kidnapped and knives are some of Subaru's biggest fears, it feels like a sudden shift of tone. The plot complements the characters' growth and relationships around them quite well, but in my eyes, the show's lighthearted tone was zigzagged to a different direction. One moment, Jiro is saving a little girl from drowning. Now Jiro is getting the brake speed off of him to, oh shit, he's about to get stabbed. To then finally, oh nah, it was Subaru's dad the whole time. Now that doesn't mean those moments didn't have great things. Jiro showed his love for Subaru by lung punching his bitch to spare her from her pain. Subaru confessing she was more worried about never seeing Jiro again, and just the small times that Jiro puts her in the forefront of his mind. They're all great moments that come from the episode that collectively progresses the story and illustrates a lovely duo that have no shame in caring for one another. Episode 4 went for a treat. Subaru gets kicked out of the Kanade household and stays over at Juro's home. After a sparring session, she does some freaky shit. This little girl gets caught about to sniff this man's sweaty towel. Now that's a fetish I never got into. After that little kink, Jiro is in the bath and Subaru barges in, ready to scrub his back. After a quick titty press, things look like they're about to get hot and heavy, but little sister cockblocks to a relatable yet frustrating degree. Ain't that some shit? Shake my head. Fast forward a couple hours, Kanade brings sick-ridden Jiro to Subaru's father, and it's revealed that they were both kicked out due to rising tensions over the dad's treatment of the main character. This moment sparks an amazing scene of love and dedication. After finding Jiro out and about, Subaru. Why did I stop like that? After finding Jiro out and about, Subaru tries to force him back to his bed so his condition won't get worse. Well, he passes out and she's left in tears, which Jiro sees while drifting in and out of consciousness. This prompts him to get up and calm her down, self motivated by his promise to never make her cry again. It's a heart wrenching scene that further establishes their characters' emotions and priorities. Episode 5 is very interesting because we get a new character in the mix, a cute pink-haired girl called Masamune Usame. This bad little shorty blackmails Gerald to take her to the school festival so it can help her fan club with the other Subaru fan club. Let's just take a moment and appreciate that Subaru has two different fan clubs that obsess over her, because she's a cool, mysterious person that they also think is a guy. Man, at least when I was in high school, when someone was mysterious, we just called him a school shooter. Never made a fan club. That's pretty dope. I'm going depth for this episode because at this point, the show has been in a groove for a while. I did want to point out, though, that if Subaru wasn't in the mix, and if Masamune wasn't such a BDSM little bitch, I would 100% want Jiro to date that cute and defensive baddie. Episode 6, I have started to appreciate a lot. At the school festival, Jiro and Masamune are on their fictitious date, and Subaru starts to get real jealous. But the pacing of the episode diverts an issue that could have caused a lot of unnecessary drama. When most shows take this route, it just opens up a plot hole of why doesn't the main character just tell the other person they have to fake being on a date so they don't get the wrong impression. That's the feeling I had when I first started the episode, but instead of dragging it out, Pink Wendy's girl calls off the date just a couple minutes in. That shit took me off guard. I was happy to not see the same thing I've witnessed in other shows happen to this one. I want to bring up that Masamune in this episode is one relatable ass character. She has no friends and is super lonely. They straight up just took my life and put it in a badass female. She was more developed in this episode alone than Kanade has been the entire show so far. Last thing I want to bring up for this episode is Subaru. Wow. They make her look great. Definitely my second favorite episode of the show. Now skipping ahead to episode 11, because unlike Meek Mill's Twitter fingers, mine are getting tired as fuck. Subaru gets dismissed as Kanade's butler after she gets hurt falling down some stairs. This situation is funny to me, even though it's taken seriously in the show. How the hell does a butler get dismissed because their master falls down some stairs, while walking backwards nonetheless? So Kanade's own incapacity to take stairs correctly gets Subaru fired. What a series of unfortunate events. Well, anyways, this leaks into episode 12, where she runs away after getting fired, straight to the hotel next to her mother's grave, which I guess Jiro knew where she was headed also, maybe through his understanding of her, or maybe the all-knowing plot gods gave him a vision. They end up staying the night at the hotel, where Subaru is trying to suck this man's soul away. She just got fired, ran away to her mother's grave, and now she wanna fuck. I wish I was this freaky, jeez. And it wouldn't even be a big issue for me either if it didn't all begin with Subaru getting fired because Kanade hurt herself. Now on to my boy Jiro. What a disaster with this man. Subaru is clearly in love with him, something she is not shy about with Jiro. She basically has done everything except flat out tell him she loves him, and he just acts like he wants to be friends. But we all know he likes her more than just that. He really lives up to his nickname because he really is too chicken to even admit it. This gets exponentially worse when at the hotel room, Subaru asked him out loud, "Do you want to do more than just kiss?" Which he then has daydream sex with her in a platitude of positions. I know he has the nosebleed thing, but this isn't regular fucking, young man. This is making love. Subaru even ends up big spooning him. If that doesn't indicate Jiro likes to get pegged, I don't know what does. Now don't get me wrong, this fits perfectly with Jiro's character. Everything that he does and says here align incredibly with his persona. Neither does it regress his arc, but rather show us that although he has been making progress, he's not cured yet. This is where the show flips everything on its head though, in the most hilarious way. Jiro jumps up and, if straight out of a Dragon Ball Z fight scene, screams, "Let's do this!" Subaru then proceeds to yak this man's head to the ground while saying, "I just wanted to sleep next to you." This had to be the most unexpected and hilarious plot twist I've gotten in a while. Top notch. It even subverts the issue I brought up earlier about Subaru just getting fired then wanting to fuck. I'm not deleting what I said though, because it's like 2 paragraphs up. This is my favorite episode because of Jiro's determination resulting in Subaru getting her job back, along with the kiss at the end of the episode. And also, this is the episode where we see our first titties. An exquisite showcase of Subaru's well-drawn and cinematic nipples, which also pop out really well in Jiro's daydream moment. That serves as the end of Subaru and Jiro's arc in the season, and in my eyes, the true last episode of the show. There is one more episode, but it's just a comedy story between Jiro and the slash fiction writer, Nakaru. Now that we're done with the show, I want to say this is an excellent romantic comedy anime. Although Jiro's condition can feel like it's dragging out the story and frustrates me at times because of my manly manners, I still love the show, and I could say that it feels like his arc and Subaru's arc progressed naturally and realistically for the most part. The issues don't get resolved at the end, like Jiro's beta male disease and Subaru wanting to be more than just friends with him. But I still got a sense of completion and satisfaction with episode 12. I do wish we can get another season to see these characters progress further and hopefully see a relationship blossom, because I know I'll be pleased with the result better than I was with the one in Love, Shinubio, and Other Delusions. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Not Good Enough Anime. I recommend this show to anybody that hasn't seen it yet, although I've spoiled most of it here. I give Mayo Chiki a 8 out of 10 overall, a 7 out of 10 in nipple rating, and a degeneracy rating of 4 out of 10. I thank all of you for listening to my meaningless thoughts and would be glad to hear your thoughts on Mayo Chiki, which you can leave on our YouTube page or at me and Andy's website, notgoodenoughpodcast.weebly.com. Thank you for your time, and always remember, if it's not good enough, it'll never be good enough. Take it easy.